Hello, thank you for tuning in to Kaieteur Radio. Kevin Smith here. Welcome to your news at noon. These are the top stories we're tracking. EPA replaces new guidelines with outdated model 6 days before, asking ExxonMobil to do environmental impact assessment for $900 million gas to energy project. Guyanese oil and gas workers complain of mistreatment, says GAWU, and Lowenfield takes court action to prevent government commissioners from participating in his dismissal. Man who crushed Goldsmith to death charged and placed on $500,000 bail. Man in custody for raping 16-year-old and police officer committed to stand trial for rape of minor. Stay tuned to stay informed. COVID-19 testing sites in Region 4. Sunday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Herstelling, Paradise, and Umanayana. All COVID-19 protocols must be observed. You need a COVID-19 test if you are a close contact of someone who tested positive for COVID-19 and if you are showing symptoms of COVID-19. A message from the Ministry of Health. And now for the news in detail. On June 22, 2021, the Environmental Protection Agency announced that it had taken the decision to withdraw the revised Environmental Impact Assessment, or EIA, guidelines of 2020 for mining, forestry, hydropower, thermal power, electricity transmission, and offshore petroleum exploration and production. It has opted instead to use guidelines from 2 decades earlier, which is the EIA Guidelines 2000, volumes 1 to 5. The announcement came 6 days before the EPA announced that ExxonMobil applied for environmental authorization for the $900 million gas to energy project, while adding that it requires the company's local affiliate, ESSO, to conduct an environmental impact assessment before it considers giving approval. The excuse given by the EPA for walking back on the 2020 guidelines is that it needs to facilitate broader consultations on the document. In other news, in a statement to the media yesterday, the Guyana Agricultural and General Workers Union, or GAWU, disclosed that it is in receipt of numerous complaints from Guyanese who say they are employed in the oil and gas sector and are being treated unfairly. The union said these complaints were recently lodged with its oil and gas branch. Expounding further, GAWU said chief among the complaints received was the notion that the Guyanese employees appear to be inferior to their foreign counterparts. Despite there being identical duties in some cases, GAWU said the Guyanese workers have lamented that there exist vast discrepancies in their respective rates of pay. And moving on, embattled GKIM CEO Keith Lowenfield has filed an application in the High Court seeking several actions, one of which includes an order to prevent government-nominated GKIM commissioners Sais Gunraj and Bibi Shadiq from participating in the discussion of a motion tabled for his dismissal from GKIM. Lowenfield's lawyer Nigel Hughes filed the application on Tuesday. According to a document seen, GKIM is the named respondent in the matter. Lowenfield is seeking a declaration that he is entitled to the protection of the rules of natural justice and the right to a fair hearing and determination for the motion of his dismissal brought by Gunraj and seconded by Shadiq. Secondly, he made an application for an order restraining the 2 named government commissioners from participating as adjudicators in the hearing of the motion for his dismissal. Thirdly, Lowenfield wants a declaration that Gunraj and Shadiq cannot properly participate here and determine their own complaint against him in the motion for his dismissal. And moving on, 34-year-old Tilakram Dindyal, a truck driver of Hope West Enmore, East Coast Demerara, was arrested on Monday after he ran over a goldsmith with his truck. He was charged on Thursday for causing death by dangerous driving. He appeared at the Vigilance Magistrates Court before Magistrate Fabayo Azor, where he pleaded not guilty. As a result, he was placed on $500,000 bail to return on August 8, 2021 for trial. On Monday around 19 hours 30, 38-year-old Rajan Prasad, a goldsmith of Fowlis, East Coast Demerara, was crushed to death by a motor lorry that was driven by Tilakram. As Dindyal lowered the tray and started to reverse to offload sand, his wife shouted at him, indicating that he ran over one of their dogs. Upon checking, he observed an identifiable male under the truck with what appeared to be blood about his body. And moving on, a 21-year-old man was on Thursday taken into police custody after it was alleged that he raped a 16-year-old girl sometime in August of last year. We learned that the incident occurred in Region 9 and the young man and the girl are related to each other. It was reported to the police that the two were sexually involved, and according to reports, the girl was questioned, following which she confessed to what had transpired. A report was subsequently made at the Letten police station on Thursday, and acting on information received, the young man was arrested later that day. An investigation into the matter has since been launched. In other news, a police officer, Michael Kendall, was yesterday committed to stand trial in the High Court for the alleged rape of a minor. Kendall was committed to the High Court using the paper committal process in the Georgetown Magistrates Court. Kendall and Ian Franklin were jointly charged in March 2021 for the alleged rape of a minor. They were not required to plead to the indictable charge, which alleges that on December 3, 2020, they raped a child under the age of 16. Both men were placed on $300,000 bail each on their first court appearance. Principal Magistrate Cheryl Isaacs Marcus ruled that based on the evidence that was submitted to the court, she found sufficient evidence against Kendall for him to stand trial at the next practicable sitting of the Demerara Assizes. As such, he was committed but remains on bail. Franklin's matter is still ongoing. And now let's tell you the Ministry of Agriculture on July 7th hosted a contract signing as it advances the execution of its 2021 working program. GAWU inked 3 contracts totaling $183,750 for the supply of several critical pieces of equipment as part of the corporation's move to revitalize and advance sugar cultivation and production in Guyana. The 3 contracts were signed with GenEquip for the supply and delivery of 8 disc plows, 6 trailing harrows, and 10 four-wheel drive agricultural tractors. 5 of the tractors will be used for mechanical tillage, while the other 5 will be used for operating mechanical rotary drain ditchers. And on that note, let's tell you, in keeping with an aid agreement between Korea Customs Service, or KCS, a tax organization in South Korea, under the Ministry of Economy and Finance and the GRA, a delegation of 6 consultants from KCS recently visited the local tax body and commenced consultations for the modernization of Guyana's customs administration. The 50-day visit to Guyana is part of an effort to strengthen cooperation between GRA and KCS, which will conclude with the delivery of a final report detailing recommendations for a future model for Guyana's customs administration. And now for your COVID-19 update. Yesterday, the Ministry of Health reported that another 3 persons who tested positive for COVID-19 have died. The latest fatalities are that of a 75-year-old man from Region 4, a 66-year-old woman, and a 36-year-old man, both from Region 5. As a result of this, the country's COVID-19 death toll has moved to 489. Further, 77 new COVID-19 cases were recorded, bringing the total number of confirmed cases to 20,834. 11 patients are in the COVID-19 ICU. Meanwhile, Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony stated that 3 children are still hospitalized. 1 child remains in the COVID-19 ICU. According to the ministry, there are 87 persons in institutional isolation, 1,336 in home isolation, and 10 in institutional quarantine. To date, a total of 18,911 have recovered from the virus. Before we come to the end of today's news at noon, let's head over to the page 7 of the Kaieteur News, dedicated to being blunt. The Americans know how to take care of themselves and look out for their own. They're always several steps ahead of the game, and this is exactly what is happening with fossil fuels. In Louisiana, projects involving renewables, solar and wind power are estimated to result in a cost of $1 million per megawatt of energy, or close to 65% cheaper than the PPPC government and Exxon Gas to Shore project, which has a projected return of $3 million per megawatt of energy. Are we this dumb to continue with a project that makes no sense? Are we this rich that while our own people are poor, we can pay so much more per megawatt so that the PPPC leaders and Exxon shareholders can benefit? Guyanese, get some sense. Get up and get out and register concerns with our Gas to Shore project at the meetings now being held by Exxon. Have your say, be loud, and be sensible. Kevin Smith for Kaieteur Radio.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225-8465 or 226-8210 today.
The time has now moved on to 12 hours 16. Coming up next is a short message from the publisher of the Kaieteur News, Mr. Glenn Law.
Cracking.